Hi everyone, I'm Joe McNamee, a retired Army officer, expert real estate investor, and founder of Absolute Investment Training Company, where we teach you how to buy real estate without using any of your own money, without using any of your credit, and without using any lender of any type, so that you can turn around and sell it for a large profit, even if it's upside down. Yes, even in this economy. I've been doing this for years. I do my live deals just to prove it works in front of my students' faces, and it's even better in this economy than it has been in any other economy. It always works well, but this one here is very special. So what I want to do is I want to start sharing with you the benefits of doing this business, just so that we can just go ahead and set the groundwork, roll up our sleeves, and we kind of just jump right into this. So let's just get started with the benefits of doing the business as we start to build a foundation solid underneath you for this business. Okay? Benefit number one. Change. We're going to change your life. This business is so phenomenal. It's just, I can't tell you how incredible it is. If you focus on my systems, you won't need any other training from anyone else. If you just focus on this, change is inevitable. Change like this. No more trading hours for dollars. No more trying to figure out whether you're going to pay the electric bill or buy food this month. These techniques that I'm going to teach you will change those types of feelings. Now let's just say that you're making a pretty solid, decent income. I have many students I have one student who's been a surgeon for 31 years. His wife's a retired full-blooded colonel in the Army. There's plenty of income there, and still we're able to initiate change for them also. So the benefits. Change is huge. All you have to do is open your eyes and listen for just a little while. All right, let's go into the second one. Yours. Instead of looking at this just as a business, consider this point right here. I'll teach you exactly how to buy your next house or your first house that's for you specifically. You may not even want to do this as a business. I'll teach you how to do it with much better terms and for tens of thousands of dollars cheaper than what it would have cost you if you hadn't learned my systems. So you can apply this just to yours. Now let's just say that you're an experienced real estate investor and you want to learn how to buy some commercial property without spending any money, without using any credit, and without using a lender. So, okay, let's jump into the next benefit. Lenders. When you wrap your head around understanding, and we're going to get into that in this series, this free series here, but when you wrap your head around understanding why you do not need lenders to buy real estate, you will be light years ahead of your peers. Most real estate investors, even the ones who are savvy and outside the box thinking, still think that they have to have lenders. Maybe they've spent many time with 98% of the people that teach out there, and they teach, I'll teach you how to buy a house with no money and no credit, but what they actually mean is you got to go borrow money from a private lender. So what I'm talking about is you don't need any lenders of any type to build a solid foundation. Now I'm not telling you that those other techniques aren't good to add to this, but your solid foundation is about doing it with no lenders, no credit, and no money. All right, benefit number 4, control. When you get your mind engaged in this game and you start focusing on this business and realizing the impact, the service that you can provide to other individuals, the other companies that will be so happy to recommend and suggest you and your business, that control that you start to have will start giving you a power position to use for the good of your society, your local society. Power where you no longer are controlled as a puppet by other individuals, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be in the way that you've been doing business. When you have full control of how your deals are functioning, how your deals are structured, and how you're bringing an income in so that you can reach your message out further to further provide a service, to further provide a solution to people's problems, when you start gaining control, you will realize what I mean by the benefits of this business. Okay? The next one is help. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody go out there and hire their family and their friends, because there's the old cliche, business dealings between family and friends never works. Well, I say it almost never works. I have lots of t-shirts from it not working, and I have lots of t-shirts from it working. So there's certain things that I've figured out through time and through experience that if you set yourself up and set them up for it to be a win-win situation, where if they don't do what they're supposed to do, it's no skin off your back, but you can reach out and help, and you can provide a lot of great assistance within your family, within your circle of friends, neighbors, could be friends of yours that are in another state or another country. I have many now. So bottom line is, you'll have the power to be able to help people beyond your wildest dreams at this moment. So the next benefit, optimism. When you look at the way that I look at doing this business, you'll be so much more optimistic about each and every potential deal that you'll have come along. So let me give you an example of me and optimism. Let's just talk about that typical old scenario that is always painted out. There's a glass that's filled midway with water. So the question is the glass half empty or half full? Well, an optimist would say that it's half full. A pessimist would say it's half empty. A realist would say, well, it's 48.2% of the way full or empty of liquid. All right? Well, I don't see it as any of those. That glass is all the way full. Half with water, half with air. I am an optimist on steroids, times 10. So I'll give you another example. I have kids, and my 17-year-old daughter, Heather, she came to me, and you always try to impose certain things on my kids. I'm not trying to make them think or act like me, but in the optimism world, she came up to me and it crushed me one day, and she goes, "There's no way the sky's the limit, Dad. It's not possible." And I'm like, what? You can imagine I was crushed. So, we talked for a few more minutes, and she goes, if the sky is the limit, then how did footprints get on the moon? Well, all of a sudden, and of course she heard that somewhere, but all of a sudden for a teenager to repeat that and just casually have that conversation with me, of her own choosing, not mine, all of a sudden my crush became the top of the proud tower. I was sitting on the top of it. So it's a good point. Then of course, then I start kicking in that thinker brain thing, because sometimes I have that issue, and it's like, well, wait a minute, is the moon in the sky, or is the sky only in our atmosphere, and whatever. But bottom line is, the point is well taken. The sky is not the limit. There are no limits. As soon as you get into the creative side of this business, the creativity, then the benefits will come. So the income will change. You will be absolutely amazed at how your income will. Here's an example. 2 days ago, one of my students, I've been a student of mine for about 16 months now, we were chatting, and he made, I don't know, $10, $20 an hour, something like that, in the job that he used to do. And he came to me 16 months ago and started doing this business, and he picked it up really quick. Matter of fact, within the first month, I think he made somewhere around $20,000 or $30,000, and has continued to do well. I think he's made over $1 million now off of real estate in 16 months. But the funny thing is about him, he never owned a piece of real estate in his life. He never rented an apartment. He moved from mom and dad's house to he and his fiance getting married and then moving into their house. But he started doing deals. He did like 32, 34 deals in 16 months and never ever had even thought about doing real estate before. But what he said was, it used to be really nice to all of a sudden get a $5,000 or $10,000 check just like that, and some of them even larger, $15,000, $25,000 checks. And he said, now it's like, okay, it's no big deal anymore. The thrill is gone of getting those checks. Your income and your outlook on your perspective of money is going to change. So, movement. Now, let me just I'm going to focus on movement, but I'm going to go back to income too at the same time. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. You make a lot of money doing real estate. And I enjoy making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I am motivated for many different reasons, but I enjoy making money. Now, I've retired twice in my life. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I do this because I love it, not because I need an income from it. So I just want to clear that up right there. But I also know that if you have a message, if you have a desire, if you have a passion, real estate can fund it. The way that I do real estate, the way that people make money off of, the way that my techniques, you can definitely take that and further whatever message it is for you. If it's given to a charity, if it's given to your church, if it's given to the Girl Scouts or a ball team, or whatever you choose to do with it, whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you excited, it's all about having power and control, and this is a huge benefit in doing this business with very, very, very little effort. So let me get back into the movement a little bit. For me, I am interested in curing America's problems. We've had 12, 13, 14 recessions since the Depression. And in almost all of them, real estate has always been very strong and has been able to pull our economy back up out of the depths of a recession. Well, this time's different. This time the banking industry has fallen apart, and so it's kind of scary out there for lots of conventional wisdom people who are inside the box but think they're outside the box. That's the worst individual right there. They're their own worst enemy. But my movement is to create an army of investors. This is my desire, to go across America to fix the real estate issues we've got going on. I have all the techniques and tools it takes to do it, and I've got a few thousand students already working in that direction with me. And each one of them are becoming a leader in their own community that is part of this movement to resolve these issues, to solve problems and give an alternative solution to the problems that are at hand now. There's no reason for Uncle Sam to take our tax dollars and hand it to the banks to bail them out. There's plenty of other ways that banks could have been working with our type of investors the whole time and still collected their income that they were wanting to collect off the deals anyway. So for us to bail out, we've got to stop that. We've got to stop spending money. Uncle Sam doesn't need to be spending money on this kind of stuff. We can fix this ourselves. It takes our entrepreneurial spirit to do it, our know-how. Okay, so I touched on this a little bit, but FIPE. You know what FIPE is, don't you? It's an acronym. I mean, I created this acronym. It's Finance Your Passion Easily. So what I mean by that, it's another benefit of real estate. I get not everyone is excited, and not everyone, it's not their forte in doing real estate. I get that, and I understand. I love real estate. I grew up real estate and construction, but it may not be your passion. Now, I'd say I think the statistic is somewhere around 80–85% of the people who have a college degree do not work in the degree that they hold. In the profession that they've learned, they did not work in that profession. So just kind of think for a minute. It might be you, and it might be someone you know, or it might be you may have funded schooling for your kids who aren't working and using the degree they've got. It's very common. But the bottom line is, you can learn this real estate as a benefit that gives you enough of an income quickly and easily to fund whatever your passion really is. It could be marketing your next book, printing and marketing your next book. It could be getting some training in a completely different area to learn how to do something else that you're really passionate about. It could be another product that you're creating, a prototype that you want to get patented and put on the production line. Whatever your passion is, real estate can quickly bring you enough of an income to get your passion up and running and cover the bills until it happens. Okay? Next benefit, self-worth. Wow. This one here is huge. In my office, I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of recordings. I have a 1 terabyte external hard drive that my students get from me that contains, now a terabyte is a lot of space, that contains lots of people being helped by me. The buyers have been embarrassed and humiliated by our systems out there. When they come to us, we treat them like human beings, and if we can, we get them into a house. Most of them we can. All right? The seller's been trying for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Their whole life's on hold. The families are split up because the husband or the wife got a job in another state or even another country and they can't move until the house is sold. We come in and take it over. I have a crying video, and this crying video is all about people just so, men and women, just boo-hooing because we were able to help them and no one else could. And it's my favorite video. It's very moving, and it's several different little clips of people crying from us helping them. Now we have tons more of crying scenarios that are all positive, but the self-worth, the things that you can reach out and help people with, the service you can provide to your local community. I'm going to keep hitting on this more and more, because as you realize how much more and more powerful and how much more and more you can do in your local community, those become your allies to help build your business and your credibility more and more. So understanding these benefits is a huge part of being able to do this real estate in a big way and being a major leader of this movement in your community. All right? So let's move on to the next piece. Now one more thing I want to point out about money and profits and all. I say this all the time. I'm in it for a profit. And I always make it very clear that I am not a charity organization. I make money doing what it is that I do. But if I didn't make money, if I just did this for the fun of it, and just to help a few people, pretty soon I wouldn't be able to reach my message out in a big way anymore, and fewer people will be helped by me. So I've got to have an income. So think about any organization that you know that's a charity organization, or if it's a religious organization, or if it's some other organization that is out there helping people. If they're not bringing in an income, they can't keep doing it. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, they sell cookies, they have all different types of sales and fundraising events to bring in an income to be able to fund doing and helping out there. So this is what I do. This is real estate investing is a profit organization, and I am reaching out my message as far and as hard as I can. All right? Now we're looking at 5 ways to fail. Now, first thing you got to understand is 90% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. 75% fail in the first 1 year. Why is this? Because they don't pay attention to these things right here. They got to pay attention to this right here. Now there's more to pay attention to, but these things right here will help tip that scale significantly in your favor getting started with a business. So the first way of failing is writing a big check. Now, You hear this out there. I've heard many people say this in different ways in training programs and all. By the way, I go to everybody's training programs. I look at everything everybody's doing. I want to see what my competitors are doing. I want to see if somebody's learned something that I didn't know. I want to see who's really doing what they're teaching, and it's sorry to say, most are not doing what they're teaching. They're teaching it because they figured out they can make money at it, and they're not really doing the business they're teaching. So we'll talk about that a little bit further later on. But writing a big check. Now, I just told you I teach people how to buy real estate without using any money. Now, actually, I lied to you. It costs $10. You need to use $10 to buy a piece of real estate, but that's it. So, sorry. Okay, so writing a big check to me is, I don't want you writing any more than $1,000. So if you're taking over a piece of property and you've got to write a check for it, it's a really sweet deal, and it's going to take, I can think of this one deal I took over. It was 5 3/4 acres. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick rancher it was on 5 3/4 acres, and the house was in really good shape. It needed just a little bit of work. But I couldn't have the house unless I paid the closing costs. Well, that particular one, by the way, you're going to find out closing costs are a lot cheaper with this way of doing it. It was like $800. So I paid the closing costs. I got the house for $500 a month, no interest, and my buyer had already paid me first up front, and the monthly payment the buyer was paying me was $1,700. So I think I was okay writing an $800 check. But writing a big check, to me, over $1,000, that's a big check. 5 ways to fail, don't spend more than $1,000. All right? Remember, right now you're learning how to do this with $10. Okay? Debt. You don't personally guarantee debt. So now let me tell you what that really means. You may have heard that before, and maybe you understand it or maybe you don't, but just listen. When you're going to borrow money on a piece of real estate, let's just say, and you use the real estate as collateral, then the bank is going to give you a deed to secure debt. They're going to give you the loan, and they're going to give you, but not in this economy, but they're going to give you a deed to secure debt, or the bank is going to take a deed to secure debt. The attorney is going to file it at the courthouse. That's the record. That's what goes on record at the courthouse that shows that the bank is owed this money. So in the event that you stop paying, the bank gets to take the house back through a foreclosure process and gain control of the property. Now, the second half of the papers that you're signing is a personal guarantee. When you sign that personal guarantee, that means that if the bank incurs any expenses above what they can get out of that house, above in the profit that they can get out of that house, if they incur any expenses, they can come after you for those expenses, for anything else that you own. It could be grandma's brooch you inherited, it could be your cars, it could be other real estate, it could be your bank accounts, your stocks, your bonds. It could be anything of value that you own. The bank can attach a judgment to it to cover the rest of the debt. So let's just say that you owed $150,000 on the house. You stopped paying on it. The bank came in and took it back, and they sold it for $90,000. And they paid the attorney's fees, and they paid a real estate commission, and they had to do some repairs to it. And it took 2 years for it to sell, so they had to pay the taxes, insurance, homeowners association fee, whatever. All those expenses can be tacked on to you. So when you personally guarantee debt, the bank can come after you for all different kinds of things. So don't personally guarantee debt. Now today, banks will not loan money hardly at all, and we're going to get into that in a little while. But there's no way that they're going to give any kind of loan against real estate without getting you to sign a personal guarantee. So, all right? Never make a promise you can't keep. All right? So 5 ways to fail is your word. If you don't stick true to your word, if you say, I will meet you at the house at 9 o'clock Monday morning. Then 9 o'clock Monday morning, you better be at the house. You know, in the military, there was this little catchphrase that went like this: if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. So what that meant was you needed to be wherever you were going 15 minutes early. Why is that? Because Murphy lives everywhere. A train is slowing you down because it's going across. There's a traffic jam. There's a wreck, a road closed. Whatever it is, something can slow you down, something you didn't expect, you know, a flat tire, whatever. So now remember, that's what happens to everybody. Life is what happens when you plan to do something else. So immediately you need to call and let them know. But if you say you're going to be there at 9, by God, be there at 9. Okay, so let's take that a little bit further. If I'm going to be late or I can't make it or whatever, I better have called way before 9 and let people know if I know it. So do the best you can with keeping people aware of you staying true to your word. Now let's go a little bit further with that same thing. If I tell someone I'm taking over their payments on their house, and I'm going to make it from then on, and I'm going to pay the homeowners association fee, and I'm going to do all this kind of stuff, then by God, I need to do it. I don't take it over and then later on say, oh, sorry, can't pay you, and you're not getting your money now, and come up with all these excuses. My system is solid. I make sure that I can do what I promise, or I don't make the promise. Okay? So it's just all about getting people to talk good about you. Now, in the olden days, word of mouth was really important face to face. It's just as important today, but it's a whole lot more so today because not only can everybody share their positive or negative experience that they've had dealing with you and your business, but they can do it personally, they can do it on the phone, they can do it on the internet, they can do it through social networks, they can do it through text message. There's a million ways that people now can communicate that didn't exist in the past. So people around the world can know what it's like to deal with your business that quick. All right? All right, here's one. Now these you've seen or heard before if you've looked at any kind of training, but this and these you have not. I'm just telling you, you never, ever, ever get involved with any kind of real estate deal until you let the market speak first. Now, I want to get my market to speak to me. What market am I talking about? My buyers. We're going to go into that in great detail so that you understand. But I want to know what my buyers are willing to pay for a piece of property so that I know whether I want to make a promise on that property or not. I don't want to get involved and I don't want to spend any money on it unless I already have a solid, strong, loud-speaking buyers list telling me it's worth it to go get that because we're going to give you money for it. And if someone screws up, I've got backup contracts on the same property. So I set myself up for success, and this is how I keep true to my word, by making sure that the market speaks and speaks loudly first. Okay? Training. That's an ugly one right there. I'm going to tell you now, there are so many people out there that profess to teach real estate investing and other things too. Now, the one thing I'll tell you, there's a lot of them that are just absolute experts at making you think that they're doing what they're teaching you how to do. What they're an expert at is manipulating something that somebody else did into it at the next event, you thinking that they did it when they bring it up, when it was someone else's deal they were talking about, through decades of time doing that. So training. Make sure that whoever, or if the word's whom, so you don't have to be that smart to do this business, but whatever that word is, make sure that you are really sure as to who's teaching you, and are they an expert in that field, or do they just teach what they think works, or are they teaching you also what they knew worked 10, 15 years ago? So just think about it. Is the economy different today than it was last year? I know gas prices are different. Is it different than it was 3 years ago. So I don't want to pay attention to techniques that worked in a whole different world that are not going to work today at all. And most of them teach techniques that require either banks or private lenders. So when you focus your business around that, you are going to go down this road right here. So you've got to watch who it is that's teaching you. Now there's two ways of figuring out, are they the real deal? You can't ask them, and you can't listen to what they say, because that, I'm just telling you. But here's what you can do. You can ask to see the live operation of them doing what it is they're professing to teach you, and you want to see it for years, proof of it, them doing it physically themselves for years. Not what they say other people have done, what they have done. That's number one. Number two, if they have a staff that's exposed to all the training and all the techniques, if they have a staff that has access to all this stuff for free, is the staff just getting $10, $12, $15 an hour, or are they doing deals? And then ask to see that record of them really doing deals. Okay? So people can fabricate anything now, I'm just telling you, so you have to be careful. So the second half of that point is a lot of the ones that are out there teaching now, we're doing certain types of things, maybe real estate, and they started going they don't know the things that I've already taught you already in just this brief amount of time we've been together, and so they failed. They put all their eggs in the basket of the bank has got to take care of this problem for me down the road somewhere somehow. They failed. So how are they funding their failures or trying to get themselves back on their feet? It is by teaching you. And you're not aware of how badly they failed. Now, I'm an advocate of learning what to do and what not to do from people. I love that. But there's a point where if it's really, really ugly in dollars and people being mishandled, funds never going back, promises never being kept anymore, it's not something I really want to hang my hat on and connect my name to. So this right here is big. Pay very close attention and be careful. All right? Buyer beware, I guess is what I just said. Okay? Now, more problems, Joe? I thought this was supposed to be an upbeat, powerful way of changing my life and all this kind of stuff. It is. But if I don't point out the things that you got to watch out for in the very beginning, then I'm not helping you. I got to make sure that I set you up to not fail. If you were a boxer, you walked into the ring and you didn't know how bad it hurt to get hit in the nose, and somebody just walked up and hit you in the nose in that boxing ring, the next time you'd put your guard up and you'd be going around going, hey, whoever was training me, you never told me to protect my nose. So I'm trying to show you how to protect your nose in the very beginning, how to build a reputation around this business and be prepared for the uh-ohs if you're not thinking about them, if they're not put right in front of your face, and then you design your business around not having to worry about those uh-ohs because you're aware of it, then I think I've done you a great service. I'm all about you succeeding. I love that. I just enjoy so much people's success stories. It's what really, really motivates me to do the training side of this business. So, first problem. I told you don't write a check for more than $1,000. So let me paint a scenario of you'll be tempted in the beginning to use your own money anyhow. You'll think, I got that. All right, so here's a scenario for you. Let's say that someone comes up to you, has a house that's worth $100,000. In today's economy, it needs no repairs, and you can have it for 10 grand. Is it a deal? Well, I imagine most of you, I've asked that question, I don't know, probably 50, 60, 80 times, maybe more than that. And people go, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good deal. It's not a deal until your market speaks first. If you've got buyers that are willing to give you a whole lot more than what that place costs you, then it's a deal. But again, still, I'll tell you what, try to operate your business as if you don't have any money. And some of you are going, that's not hard right now for me. But anyway, I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm trying to laugh with you because I'm happy about you being here, paying attention to this, because that won't be you in the future. But the bottom line is, try to operate it as if you don't want. What's the term we use for people who are rich that don't spend? Miser. A miser. Try to act like you're a miser, and learn how to do this without using any money, without using any credit, and without using any lender. Then down the road, as you get better and better, you've built a solid foundation in your business, and now, no matter what the economy changes and turns into, you've got that as a solid base for your operation. Now with a good solid foundation, now you can build walls, you can build a roof, you can completely enclose the business, the building of the business, and you'll be secure. So stay away from using your own money as much as you possibly can. Okay? Determining value. This is huge. Most of you are going to have your go-to person that you're going to go to even about this video right now. And your go-to person in the real estate world is going to be two people that understand real estate from a conventional wisdom world, but don't necessarily understand it from my world. Number one is a realtor. Has no clue, unless they've been trained by me, has no clue about how to find buyers except for two ways. An all-cash buyer or a buyer that can go to the bank and borrow the money. Well, imagine if I took a coffee cup and I put 2 granules of sand in that coffee cup, and each one of those granules of sand was those 2 buyers. I can fill that coffee cup up with granules of sand of other types of buyers besides those 2. Ask a realtor to be able to do that. Ask the one that you're talking to. Now, if there happen to be, there's a few of them. I have a few students that are realtors and they keep their license and they play both sides of that game. There's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. But what I'm trying to say, and I'm not picking on realtors, I'm just saying that you're going to use people, you're going to go to people and you're going to think that you're supposed to determine value based on a comparative market analysis, which a realtor provides, a broker's price opinion, which a realtor provides, or an appraisal, which a realtor recommends. The other person that you're going to go to about determining value is a real estate attorney. Now, there's many real estate attorneys out there that are good real estate attorneys in the conventional wisdom world, but have no clue about our world. It's totally legal, totally ethical, totally moral. I have 20 attorneys. One of them is a judge. And they all learn bits and pieces from me about furthering their ability to help more people in being real estate attorneys. But you could get advice from people saying, the way you determine value is pulling comps online with several different comps programs. That is not how you determine value. That is a big mistake. The way you determine value is letting the market speak. I want to know what my unspent or non-spent buyers are saying that they're willing to pay for that house. I don't want to know what people who have already bought a house like that within a short distance away, similar to that house, within a short period of time ago. That buyer means nothing to me. They've already bought. They're not interested in buying again. I want the opinion of people who haven't bought yet. And again, we'll talk about that more. You're going to hear things more and more from me, the same thing from different perspectives, different angles, just to get them deeply embedded in your mind so that you understand how to think about this business the way that I do at the very, very basic level. All right? Another big problem. When the big checks come in, knowing what to do with the money. Now, if you scored a really good deal and you made a lot of money, and let's say a lot of money was $3,000 or $150,000 off of one deal with an hour or two of work. Okay, bam, $3 grand, and we'll just talk on the low end. $3 grand, it's a big check. It's not all to be blown because Murphy lives everywhere, and life is what happens when you plan to do something else. That was kind of like John Lennon's quote there. So when that big check comes in, there's nothing wrong with going and splurging a little bit. You and your spouse or your family, or if you're single, a girlfriend, boyfriend, or relatives, or just regular friends, whatever, go out and celebrate a little bit. Under control, you make $3,000, take a few $100s and blow it. In celebration as a reward to you and just a feel-good moment with you and your friends. Could be business associates. All right? So, but the rest of it, don't just blow it. Be cautious. Keep bringing in the big checks, and when you store up some of that reserve cash, then you can do a little big, hey, this time, my wife and I, we go on cruises all the time. We fly to St. Thomas a lot, take the whole family, we take lots of friends, we do all kinds of things like that. But, be prudent and be careful, because you don't want to blow every dime you've made right away, because all of a sudden the big check may not come for how long? When's the next one coming in? There's no telling. Okay? All right. The next problem is thinking that you're supposed to operate this business like a landlord. Will you have people leasing properties from you? Yes, you will. Are you a landlord? No. Nothing could be further from the truth. You do not operate this business as if you're a landlord. You have no responsibility for the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, or the upkeep. Those are two different things. Maintaining the house and just keeping it in a good state of repair. Those are two separate things. The water heater, the heat and air broke, that's maintenance. Just upkeep, that's, there's a rotted piece of wood on the outside, fix it, and then paint it back and whatever. But that is what your end buyers are doing, not you. That's their responsibility, not you. You are not handling this as a landlord. You do not want people in your homes that have a renter mentality. You want to get rid of that type of idea in your mind that takes you out of the world of operating this business like a landlord. You are looking for the buyer who can't get qualified through normal means, and they are very happy to take care of that property. It's their property, they're treating it like theirs, and they are going to be responsible for whatever goes on with the property. Now, when they're first moving in, make sure, unless it's an as-is deal where you're selling a fixer-upper, so to speak, but once everything's checked out in the house, then they take the responsibility for it right then and there, and that's it. But you are not operating this business as a landlord. You want people who want to buy, not people who want to rent. Okay? Next problem. The news. The biggest thing about the news is they're trying to convince you, or they're telling you, that the damn whole world is broke. Not just America, but economies across the world are broke. Now here's a question. Did somebody take all of the money and load it up on a spaceship and send it to Pluto? It's all still right here. It hasn't left the Earth. It's still on this planet. What you have to understand is you got to adjust what it is that you're doing to make your business continue to work. Whatever your business, it doesn't have to be real estate. It can be any kind of business. You got to adjust it to make it work. And so you got to adjust to what's going on. But if you allow yourself, and I'm not picking on the media here, they have a job to do and they do it real well. But the bottom line is, if you allow yourself to believe everything that you hear on the news, they're reporting based on conventional wisdom. So if they have no clue about me and my efforts and my army of investors and leaders going across the United States repairing America, then they're going to tell you that the whole world, especially real estate, has gone to hell in a handbasket. Well, it's just not true. So the bottom line is it can depress the hell out of you. Now let's talk about the news a little bit further. Why do people watch it? What's the psychology going on there to watch something like that, or these soap operas, or these shows where people are beating up each other on stage and all that kind of stuff? What's the attraction to it? And I'll tell you exactly what it is. People like to feel better about themselves. So if they can see that somebody else has got it worse, they like to feel better about what's going on with them. If they can see someone else has got it worse, like I remember on this old soap opera, my mom watched it as a kid growing up, and there was this two people, Luke and Laura. I think the show was General Hospital. But Luke and Laura, for, I don't know, seems like 800 years, were trying to get together, right? So finally, when they finally do get together, and I'm being facetious about this now, but all of a sudden they find out they're brother and sister, so it's a crash again. But I'm just saying, it's designed, and that show, I think it's still on. It's been on, I don't know, 40 years or so. But it's designed to make people feel better about themselves. So the bottom line is, it sells better if they can tell bad news than good news. So 80 or 90% of what you see is bad news. So that's why it's so attractive for people to look at it, but keep in mind, don't let it affect your business and what you think is really going on, because it will affect you. If you're outside the conventional wisdom world, you're okay. All right. Shoes. I can't tell you how many people, even on my staff, it drives me nuts. This is typically what happens. People, something will happen, or we'll be interested in a deal, and I'll say, okay, well, go tell them this, that, or the other, and they'll go, oh, well, they won't do that. And I'm like, well, plant the seed. Just tell them that and plant the seed. Well, yeah, but that's not going to be in their best interest. You don't know that. You've got to walk many miles in somebody's shoes to know whether that's a good thing for them to decide on doing or not. And time and circumstances changes constantly for people. So take a guy who, let's say we got a buyer who calls us and says he's got $250 he can put down and $250 a month. Well, of course I don't have anything that would fit. But tomorrow he just won $150,000 in the lottery. Well, I'm not going to ignore this person, or he might have a grandmother who will let him have an early inheritance. Now, everything I'm telling you, we have had happen with buyers and sellers. They borrow against their inheritance. They can afford a whole lot more because grandmom's also going to be renting a room from them and paying them $1,000 a month for that room rent. You can't make decisions for other people you're not qualified. So you've got to walk in their shoes, and you've got to walk in their shoes for their entire life to make a decision, not just a mile. So you're not qualified to make decisions for other people, so never ever try to do that. All right? Pay costs. You're not paying the costs on the properties. You're not taking that on. The tenant buyer is the one responsible. You're not going to turn into this landlord or this goody two-shoes guy that's going to pay for all the expenses. Now, have I paid for things all of a sudden, unbeknownst to the buyer, that all of a sudden it needed, like I had a lady who bought a $250,000 house from me, and the one bedroom didn't cool very well. And we didn't know it. I mean, she moved in, and then the summertime came around, and this bedroom would not cool very well. The only thing it needed was a return ran into that bedroom. Now, that sounds like a big deal. I think it was less than $175 or $200 we put the return in there for. Once that return was put in there, the bedroom cools better than the rest of the house. It did a real good job. So we'll pick up something like that and all, but as a primary way of doing business, I am not paying the cost. They're not my children. I wouldn't do it for my kids either. If they have expenses, it's their expenses. It's their house, it's their responsibility. It's not mine. If I pay for everybody's expenses, pretty soon I'm not going to be able to keep going out and helping more people. So I have to be careful of that. You have to also. All right? Now, I'm just like you. Let me give you an idea of what it was like in my household, in my house growing up. The first real estate deal I was involved in, I was 6 years old. Yes, I said 6, not 16, 6 years old. So I started out in real estate, understanding completely outside the box thinking from a desperate perspective. So I'll give you an idea. You know, my parents, my mom was a realtor, my dad was in construction. Well, they never had any money. There was never any money that they could just normally have to spend. And so as a result, they constantly were not able to stay in a house that they were in or whatever. And so, and when they didn't, most of the family that they went with didn't have enough room for our family, and it was just 4 of us. And so it was a split up of the family. My sister would go to someone's house and stay. I would go to a different relative's house and stay, and my parents would go to a third house and stay. Some of it was relatives, some of it was family friends. But I moved 19 times by the time I was 19 years old. But there was never any money, so Mom would look for this certain type of deal. And it would work like this. It would be typically in a ghetto. Today that's called a war zone, but a ghetto or a really, really undesirable neighborhood. All right. So Mom would look for a house that was a fixer-upper that a disgruntled landlord owned that they would love to get rid of because the last tenant destroyed it. So we would get dressed in our best Sunday school clothes, and we would go on the interview to be interviewed by these people to get this house. And Mom would negotiate with them and say, I want to buy this house and lock in this purchase price, which is the condition of it now. Then she would say, but we want to rent it while we live in it, and we fix it up, and then we're going to put it up for sale, and we're going to buy it from you and sell it. And the landlord was looking at this and going, well, what's in it for me? Well, number one, you're going to get your house sold. Number two, if we screw up halfway through this, you're going to get your house back and it's all fixed up. And number three, you didn't have to buy any material because we're buying the material. Okay, so now the landlord's in. All right, so we move in. Typically, Mom and my sister, Donna, would clean a room or two. We would move into a room or two. Now the family is brought back together. Out of desperation, these deals were created. So remember when I was talking about using your money? Act like you don't have any? Well, Mom and Dad didn't have any, okay? So we would move in and we would do the blood, sweat, and tears type real estate deal. We would fix the house up. I specifically remember the house in my mind. I was 6 years old. Dad chalked it, the floor, the hardwood floor, squeaked in it real bad. So Dad chalked a line where all the floor joists were, so I could drive a 6-penny galvanized nail through that wood flooring into that floor joist to stop the floor from squeaking. I can remember my hand being so sore because the hammer he had was a 16-ounce leather wrapped. It was little leather rings that were wrapped, and there were a few rings that were missing, so it would pinch your finger all the time when you're using it. But I nailed down that whole floor, and then they put down wall-to-wall carpeting, shag carpeting. Imagine that back then, okay? But that's the first deal I remember. So we fixed the whole house up. Then Mom put it up for sale. She doesn't own the house. Found the buyer, then got the attorney involved. So the buyer and the seller, the buying of the property and the selling the property were back-to-back closings at the same attorney's table in the same day within an hour or two apart. And so now the next problem is Mom and Dad made a lot of money doing that. And this is back in the 60s. And they might make $6,000 or $7,000, which was a lot of money back then. But that meant in their minds they had $12,000 or $14,000 to blow when they do that. So remember, controlling yourself and not blowing all the money that you make is very important. How do you think I know that? Then they would typically chase some wild dream, buy a moving truck. We'd load up everything and move from up north to deep south and no job to go to. We'd go stay in a Norman Bates hotel type thing, and Mom and Dad would drive every day from the hotel all around, hours, maybe even 100 miles away or more, looking for a job. Be on their last leg, their last dime, and maybe find a job, maybe find somebody who would let them work for them and give them a house to live in for free for a short while for them to fix that house up. And so over and over and over again. But I grew up doing real estate like that. I didn't have any money. I didn't know how to do this stuff. But I'm not telling you you need to know how to do blood, sweat, and tears, because later I learned how to leverage my mind instead of my back, which took me into the world of being able to, let's say, do, well, typically in my young adult years, in my teenage years on up, I do somewhere around 5 deals every 3 to 6 months or so. And that was in the blood, sweat, and tears arena. Then, as I learned how to leverage my mind and stop physically getting involved and pry myself away from physically getting involved, I can do somewhere between 3 and 25 deals in a month now. So went from 5 deals, 3 to 6 months, to 3 to 25 deals in a month. Now, there are typically some weekends where I've done 40 or 50 deals. And that doesn't happen all the time, but that's more about me dealing with disgruntled landlords who have lots of properties, and one negotiation, take over a whole bunch of them. Half the buyers are already in those places, and then I plug in my buyers list. I got over 3,000 buyers sitting on my buyers list at any given time, and plug in the rest of them into those houses. But the bottom line is, I didn't know how to do all this. I had to learn, and I had to figure out, and I had to reflect back of all the things that I did in the past, right and wrong and better and worse and all that kind of stuff. But there's nothing that differentiates me from you. This is easy to do. You don't have to be smarter than a 5th grader. Okay? All right. So I just want you to realize that this is my passion. I love to do this. I love to help my students. I'm very passionate about helping people learn how to do what I'm able to do and get them to join with me in this army of real estate investors that's fixing America, join her. So let me just tell you about one of my big obstacles to get over. Aside from the one of not physically working on real estate anymore, from that perspective, that's in my house buying and selling business, or real estate buying and selling business. But my other obstacle is in the training business. Oh boy. I hate to go and see people in these events where the event is driven like this. The person on stage has got this magic wand, and they're portraying this picture that they can wave this wand over your head, and if you buy their course, you're getting rich without doing any work at all. Just because you were there and the wand waved over your head, money's going to magically fall into your lap. I can't stand that. You are not getting rich overnight, even though I have some students that has happened, but it's not typical. You better play the lottery. You were extremely lucky to get rich overnight. Now, what I do see over and over and over again is people get very financially comfortable. So for you, I will tell you that all you got to do is start doing this at the basic level, and you'll make 3 to 5 grand a month off of doing this with working no more than 5 hours a week. Now, how much will that change your life? Will that make you rich? No. But will $4,000 a month pay all of your bills, maybe help you maintain your standard of living just from that income alone? Now, certainly, I don't want you to think that immediately when you start doing this, you can go quit your job. Your job is cash flow. Make sure the income is there and it stays there until you've got a good solid foundation on your business and it's got a decent income for you, and then you can start looking at, okay, is it time yet for me to let go of what I am doing? And never, ever, ever take food off the table to buy anybody's training from anyone, whether it's me or anyone else. Never do that. All right. So my big obstacle was this big lie out there that people are going to get rich overnight on this. So I couldn't stand that. The other thing that I couldn't stand was, here I am, I'm doing all these deals, I'm continuing to watch what other people are doing and learning different techniques that they think works. I go out, I test them, they don't work, or they do work but not the way that the person on the stage said, and they didn't know it, they just said what they thought worked and made money off of it. So I'm out there and I'm really physically doing this stuff, and I do it all the time, and I've been doing it for decades. Like I just explained to you, I grew up in this industry doing this stuff. So my obstacle was, I've got all these people, they're coming to me, they're upset, they want to eat lunch with me, breakfast with me, dinner with me, break time, crowd around me, because they know that I'm not having their problems. And so after a while I started thinking, you know, the biggest problem with these people is they've never seen it really happen live. They really don't believe that it really will work, even though they want to believe it. When they leave the event, they're out of that atmosphere and they don't believe it anymore. So what I'm getting into is the birth of my company, Absolute Investment Training Company. My obstacle was, how am I going to get these people doing deals? I've had people come to me who were graduated in degree programs in different people's programs out there and not be able to do a deal to save their butt. They could 4 years ago. Well, anybody could. I mean, when banks could write checks, you could literally go buy a house that needed work with a construction loan, take the construction loan, purchase the house with your first draw, fix the house up, turn around, put it up for sale, use some of the money to make the payments on the construction loan until the house sold, and then when the house sold, you take the profit and you go do it again. You could almost write down on a piece of paper, the house for sale, wad it up, throw it in the trash, and get phone calls on the house. It was a different market. So anybody could make money in real estate back then. It was easy. Here's the thing. These people have all this training, but they don't know how to make it work without a good solid foundation, without needing banks. You never put all your eggs in the basket of anything, and banks are included in that. So I started saying, hey, why don't you come to my office operation and watch me do my deals? So then, when we would leave, we would leave the atmosphere of that event in that person's training program, come to my operation. Now I can deprogram all the crap that they thought was true and then have them watch me do my live deals while I taught them what was crap and what is really what you should be doing. So that was me getting over the obstacle. Well, as I was doing it, it's like, well, hell, I'm doing these deals anyway. Why not just build my training programs around me doing my live deals in front of my students' faces? So the birth of Absolute Investment Training Company from that perspective began. And so now I take people who have no experience whatsoever, zero experience, or people who are seasoned veterans in real estate investing, 20, 30, 40-year veterans in this stuff. They come to me, they start with my very basic boot camp called Jumpstart Your Business Boot Camp, and start learning how to do this all over again and instantly going out making money off of it. Now, does every student make money off of it? No. I'll tell you some results here. All right, so the results for these other programs out there are typically like this. 10%, 8% will have some level of success. What? You're telling me the people in the audience, only 8% of them are going to do anything with this training? And by God, that's the truth. So in the beginning, I didn't believe that. So I decided to test it myself. So I took a training program and I had 10 people watch that training program. Actually, they listened to it. They listened to it over my shoulder. So it was my program that I had bought and that I allowed them to listen to it with me. 10 people. How many do you think did something with that training? One. Just one. The other 9, nothing. That was 4 years ago. The other 9, still nothing. That one, still doing stuff with it. That's 10% right there. So I started believing that, and I was like, my gosh, this is crazy. So now here, I'm sure you want to know this, right out the gate, my students, 60% are starting to do successful deals right out the gate. I've had some of them do them during my event. I've had some of them do them on the way home from my event, but 60% start, and then within 3 to 6 months, that number boosts up, jumps up to about 72%, just from that boot camp, just that basic boot camp, nothing else. No $20,000 spent here on mentoring and all this other, buying lots of other things, no. Just a few tools in their hands and they get going with that training. All right? So I have a few thousand students in my student base, in my database, and I've been offering up my training privately. One of the main reasons I've been doing that is I do not believe in teaching in hotel conference rooms. Every once in a while I'll get one because in my original office operation, when people would come, my classroom could hold 35 people max. I mean, and it was tight with 35. So in my classes, I'd have somewhere between 5 and 30 students in a class. Well, when you got 30, 35, it's kind of tight. Well, then we were getting ready to build our new office complex, and so we leased out our classroom, and then we did like 5 or 6 more events because we had a slow up on our permit for building our building. So that's one of them things where life's what happens when you're planning to do something. Murphy's Law, everything kicked in and slowed that damn process down. So my new classroom is being built right now. Matter of fact, the whole structure is up. Now the inside and the outside's got to be done, but the whole building is there now. It's a 7,500 square foot, 6,000 square foot classroom, and the classroom seats somewhere around 300 people. Would be the max load that you could fit in there. I think we're only going to allow like 160 or so in there at a time. But I don't believe in doing it in hotel conference rooms. I believe in doing it in my live operation, where you see exactly what I'm doing, what my staff is doing, and you watch me do my live deals on my stage. My buyers and my sellers show up, and I negotiate my deals. The other thing that gave my students such great results was they saw people rejecting me also. In hotel conference rooms and other people's events, they never ever get rejected. Every deal that they talk about was a perfect deal. So when the average person leaves there and they get 10 rejections in a row, they think there's something wrong with them, they got to go buy some more training, or they think that they just can't do it and that guy can. The bottom line is, everybody gets rejected. Out of 100 offers out there, you'll get 10 that'll work with you. You don't know how many more of those 90 will come to you later on. You plant a seed and you move on. But anyway, that's enough on that. I kind of talked longer than I wanted to. All right. So why, Joe? Okay, you're telling me all these crazy things, but I see realtors starving to death. I see people not being able to do very well in real estate, and I've been watching the news, and they say in the newspaper, and everybody says it's not all that great. So why does this work? Why does this stuff work so well? Well, one major answer. Want to know what it is? We'll wait till next video. No, I'm just kidding you. I'm just kidding you. I'm just kidding now. Don't come through that camera at me, okay, or that computer. All right. The answer is banks. All right. When banks are okay, we as real estate investors can do some really cool things and make a lot of money that way and help a lot of people. And when banks can't, they're still the answer. They're the answer because being they can't, we have creative ways of making the deal work anyway without needing them. So they're still the answer. They're still the solution. It's just understanding what's wrong with banks and why they can't be involved in a lot of real estate deals right now. I mean, typically the average bank right now, if a person owns more than 4 pieces of real estate, you ain't getting a loan. I don't care how perfect you are. I don't care if you make $1 million a minute. They're not going to give you a loan on a piece of real estate because you own 4 pieces of real estate. And in their mind, they think that if they are having a hard time getting rid of their REOs, real estate owned by the bank properties, if they can't get rid of them without taking significant discounts on, what they're owed, or short selling one that they didn't take back over, short selling it, if they can't, then how can you? If these are big banks that own thousands of properties or are taking 1,000 back. So what makes you different? Well, they don't understand that there's a whole cutting edge out there in Joe's world of real estate investing, that every property that they can't handle or don't take back or do take back, I can put buyers in those properties, even if it's finance, if it's upside down. So the answer is banks. Now, let's get into, well, why? Sorry, I think I missed, yeah, that's right. So let's get into why, all right? So banks would typically, a person walking in the front door with wanting to borrow money on a house back in 2005, a really good market. So the buyer walks in, a borrower walks in, wants to get a loan. Well, if the bank, it seemed like they had unlimited funds to lend out. But if the bank was going to take on this loan and they didn't have the funds available to write the check for the loan, all they had to do out the back door was sell more of their loans off. So sell their paper off, sell their notes off, the older notes. So in the front door, new borrowers are coming in. Out the back door, old notes are being sold off to other lenders called the secondary market. Okay, so now, okay, well, if the banks are selling off this paper, then why are they willing to give away the interest that they were earning off of those notes that they were holding? Well, the answer is real easy. It's what everybody pays in that closing that is titled the loan origination fee. So when a person is borrowing money from a bank and they go to closing, the bank is going to lend, let's say it's $200,000, and there's a 1% loan origination fee. I'm just making these numbers up. So 1% loan origination fee, that means at closing you're paying $2,000 to the bank to borrow $200,000. And then on the $200,000 that you owe back, you have to pay interest on that. So the bank, when it loans the $200,000, instantly made $2,000. So every hour, or every 15 minutes, or 20 of them an hour, or whatever the case may be, of closings happening, and remember, they're not happening in just one attorney's office, they're happening in many places, but they're constantly getting that loan origination fee. Another $2,000, another $2,000, another $2,000, another $2,000. Does that make sense? All right, so it's worth it for them to sell off paper to be able to loan the money out again to get that loan origination fee again. And what are they giving away? The interest that's being earned every month off of that deal. All right, so that's why they sell it. But now, there's another point about it. Depending on the credibility level of the bank may be, let's just take the bank that's the lowest credible level. If they are going to loan that $200,000 on that deal, they have to have tied up another $200,000 in reserve. So they wired $200,000 into the attorney's office for the closing, and then they've tied up another $200,000. So $400,000 is tied up for that $200,000 loan. Okay, so now when they tie that up, somebody's got to be a watchdog to make sure they really are doing that and freeze that $200,000 that's still in the bank and not use it for anything else. So that's where the government comes in, the government regulators. The government regulators are inspectors, they're auditors, they look at the books of the bank. And for several different things, that's just one thing they look at. But the bottom line is, they're looking to see whether the bank has frozen that $200,000. If they have, then everything's fine. If they haven't, then the auditors report it, and Uncle Sam gets to say, sorry guys, we're pulling your FDIC insurance. We're not insuring your client, your customer's money here at this bank anymore. And the reason the government does that is because if the bank's not holding some liquid cash in reserve to handle panic in the streets, then Uncle Sam has to bail out because they're insuring those. So if they're not following the rules, then Uncle Sam's taking his money, taking his insurance policy and canceling it. So when FDIC insurance is pulled from a bank, you watch it fall apart pretty quick. Because who wants to keep their money in a checking, savings, CDs, anything else that's not insured? Nobody does. So now the bank goes out of business. So I just want you to realize what's going on with the banks. So now let's go back to my way of doing real estate. If you don't need the banks, and the banks are having those kind of problems, how many people need you and the way that you do this business if you can do it without using banks? Just about everybody. Now let me tell you how crazy it is. I had a guy come in my office not too long ago. He was trying to borrow, he had a credit score of 802. He was trying to borrow 65% of the value of the property. He was trying to borrow money against a piece of property to buy it, and the loan he was looking for was 65% of that day's value, of his today's value at that time he walked in. And the bank could not write the check. Now they didn't blame it on the bank, they didn't blame it on themselves. They found something about him that, oh, we can't do that because you only have 4 years of tax returns or something like that. But bottom line is, the bank couldn't write the check. But not just one, 3 banks in a row. So we can still make the deal happen for the guy, no problem whatsoever. We don't need banks. Okay? All right. So in the next video, what I want to talk to you about is the steps to success. I'm going to give you the steps to take to success, and there's not a whole bunch of them. It's real easy and simple. Honest to God, this is 5th grade math right here. This is not complicated stuff. In the beginning, it's kind of overwhelming, and I'm maybe taking you out of your comfort zone a little bit. But as soon as you wrap your head around how much you can help people and how many good things you can do for your community, and I'm going to point it out, I'm going to show you so many different ways that you're helping many different businesses, what they are and why. I'm going to bust some common myths for you. I'm going to share with you 6 secrets, and then we're going to start building your solid foundation of you doing this business. Now, the first thing I have to do is paint a picture of the benefits, showing you the opportunity. I'm explaining to you why my system works so well and what's broken out there that makes it work so well. Now, by the way, in the perfect market, 2005, 2007, really, really, really good real estate market. But in that perfect market, you still can use all these techniques. They still work like a charm because everybody, there will always be people needing the things that we can do without using any money, credit, or lender. There's always people that are going to need those kind of services. But that's just the basic foundation. There's many levels to it. I have 35 different products and services. Most people out there teaching have somewhere between 5 and 10. I have so many different things that you can learn, but what I want you to do is get a good solid foundation. I don't want you buying a bunch of training from me or anybody else until you got that good solid foundation. When you're ready to take the next level, you will know it, and you will have to prove it to me before I will let you buy more stuff. All right, and then I'm going to show you a path to a 6-figure income and actually a 7-figure income. So that's going to be on the next video right there, and that path is very easy to get to. All right, so to do this business, you will need, and on the next video, I'm going to cover these 4 right here and see if you can remember them. All right, I am Joe McNamee. I hope you've enjoyed this free series so far. There's more to come. Within the next couple of days, you'll get the next video. I would like for you to post your comments or questions below. I'll personally answer as many as I possibly can, and I want you to be looking forward to video number 2. We're going to cover some really cool stuff, I promise you. Now, if you happen to have caught a major error that was made in this video on the charts, if you happen to catch it, the first person in the comments section that states it is going to get from me a gift valued at $100. All you got to do is put it in the comment block down there what it is that you caught. The very first person that sees that and puts a comment in there explaining what they saw was the major problem on the charts, then you're going to get that $100 gift from us. So I'm Joe McNamee. Go out there and make a difference. I'll see you soon.